We do a variety of different things, from large organisational sort of change right through to individual teams getting in touch with us because they want some support with a particular issue or they want to develop or do a variety of different things really. One of the biggest pieces of work we've done over the last 18 months is to look at our organisational values. Hull and East Yorkshire Hospitals has had an interesting history recently, and one of the things that came out in the CQC sort of 2 years ago was an issue around bullying and culture here. And I think what we wanted to do was, rather than brush it under the carpet, is to tackle it head on and actually bring it sort of out of the shadows and really make a culture that we were proud of. We decided we wanted to ask the staff what their values were and reset them so that we could basically have a set of behaviours that everyone could sign up to. So we did a big sort of cultural survey that gave our values. We've created a staff charter and we're wanting to use that to work with teams so they can see how they can better role model the behaviours that their colleagues want to see from them. And we've been working now for the sort of past 18 months, measuring sort of staff engagement, working with teams, and just making sure that we're working towards a massively professional culture here that everyone's happy in. I was just beginning my training as a coach and saw that there was coaching supervisory training, and decided, as I was the coaching lead for the organisation, that basically I was really interested in this course. And actually it was a bit of a saviour for me because I was quite new in post as well, and it really allowed me to get access to the network of people who work across the patch. It was sort of my route into meeting the sort of team like Anthony and Catherine at the Leadership Academy, but also my sort of counterparts in different parts of the trust, different hospital trusts and things. I came across the Manager as Coach programme just through actually having been on the coaching supervision programme, and then you sort of start to sort of connect into other things. I've really enjoyed that. And for me, Manager as Coach was really useful because obviously I was acting as a coach and I'd done my training, but teaching coaching is completely different from being a coach and receiving the training yourself. She gave us really, really practical tools that I felt that I could take and add to my knowledge of coaching and actually just sort of deliver something straight away. So what we've done is, rather than initially running it separately, we embedded it as part of our clinical leads programme. And then more recently what we've done is we've rolled that out to allow any sort of manager to apply for that. So we did one 2 weeks ago actually, and we're just running them as day-long courses at the moment. But for me, the Manager as Coach is a really important part of our whole sort of portfolio of things that we offer. And I'm hoping that we can offer a more extensive course going forward, and it's definitely part of our sort of coaching strategy. For us, I think my colleagues, when we talk about coaching, we're trying to improve staff engagement, and if you don't involve people and ask them what they want, we're not actually going to get any shift in our culture. So for me, giving managers those coaching skills, it's not the sort of panacea for all the change, but it's a really important part of our jigsaw. So that for me is how we're using it, and want to basically make sure it's open for all managers to access it eventually. I think for me, I really enjoy the input from the Leadership Academy. Having them there to access is brilliant, and I think having the range of different stuff is really important. We all know that OD consultancy is expensive to access, so to actually have that resource where you can take something and create internal capacity is a bit of a gift. We're quite a small team, but we do manage what we've got quite effectively in terms of money and resource. But the Leadership Academy just gives us another sort of aspect of that really.
I look after our leadership development programme, so I spend a lot of time designing the workshops, helping run workshops, supporting people outside of that with things like coaching, improvement projects and all that other kind of stuff that goes with it. So we kind of do a bit of a wraparound, all sorts of different parts of development. So we get involved in a variety of things really. Each person on the programme has done an improvement project, so in terms of personal development they get a lot of skills, but in terms of how it affects the organisation and their departments, everybody's had to do an improvement project in their area. So we've seen some really big improvements, some really good examples of how they've managed to change things and make kind of a big difference in their area, as well as developing their own leadership. I get the kind of emails from Health Education and saw that the Accelerate programme was taking place again, and I'd heard some really good things from people who'd been on it previously. And I think for my development, I'd been quite interested in doing some of the NLP techniques because of the job that we do. We do support teams, we do support individuals a lot when things maybe aren't always quite so good in their departments. And I think I just thought the Accelerate programme and the NLP part of the programme would be really helpful for that. It came away with a lot of material and things that I could put into practice really easily. So I think for me, in terms of my development, it helped me a lot. It helped me to kind of lead in a slightly different way. But there was also some really good exercises, some really good things that we've put into practice. I put together a time-out session for our speech and language therapy department and used quite a few of the tools that I'd kind of picked up at Accelerate. We kind of put some exercises into practice and used some of it kind of in the background behind some of the things that they wanted to talk about. So things like setting objectives and vision and purpose for the team, which was something that they were struggling with. They've now got that kind of up on posters in the department. They're sharing that with other teams that they work with. We're now just building that into some of the workshops we're running at the minute as well. So some of the things that I took from that course have been really beneficial for me, but also for the people we work with and for the teams.
In terms of where this all fits in with what the Leadership Academy have actually brought to us, it's given us much more breadth in terms of what we can offer to the teams in the organisation, in terms of whether it be theory-based or practical tools that they've given us. We find that the more that we build upon those, the more that we can actually train and work with the staff and teams throughout our organisation to deliver something that's actually fit for purpose for them. Some of it was around the team resilience, which came from the Leadership Academy in terms of how we use that with teams. Some of the practical things that they gave us was just more knowledge about the difference between personal and team resilience, and some of the tools they gave us was around strengths. So we used some quite handy strengths cards which we could use with teams to get them to appreciate more readily what people in the team are actually bringing. So particularly with teams that not so much that they don't appreciate each other, but they're just not aware of how strong they are as a team and what their strengths and kind of what their value is. So we actually run with those cards, we kind of get, rather than just pick their own out, which we've done in some of the coaching sessions that we've ran, we actually get them to do it for the person kind of on the left or the right, whichever way you want to go that day. And they actually pick out 3 or 4 strengths for that person, just so they start as a team to recognise that person does appreciate me like this, and they have actually picked out that that's a strength. It ends up being quite a nice discussion almost for teams that probably weren't in such a great place when we start working with them. The theory and the skills that we've got from the Leadership Academy has really helped us to enhance the existing skills that we have. So we all come from very, very different backgrounds. So Lucy Via originally comes from an improvement background. I know Lucy Rennick, she's one of the postgrad management trainees, and I come from a whole different background, but essentially started working in this trust in my early 20s. I'm not in my early 20s anymore, so I've been here quite a long time. And I come more from a web programming, so quite a geeky kind of systems, processy background. But with the things that we've actually taken from the Leadership Academy, it's actually given us a much more well-rounded view of how we actually deal with teams and deal with people. So it's just given us additional things that we can actually use to work with them that has kind of just enhanced the existing skills that we already had. And because we're quite diverse as a team, with us all dipping in and out of different Leadership Academy courses and things like that, it's just built on more and more and more. So we've got so many different things now because of the kind of the offer that they've actually given us in terms of skilling us up and educating us all a bit more, that we've got much more to offer our staff. And I think that the organisation is starting to get into a place where it's actually starting to really see some of the benefits in terms of the way that our culture started to turn around. So our latest staff engagement scores on the back of some of the work that we've actually done has gone right up now. So that's had a big impact. So I think the organisation is starting to really benefit from some of the training and education that we've had through the Leadership Academy.